So you're back with Mark and Diane at Real Estate News and Views, and I found an amazing article that has some shocking information about homeowners, the length of time that they're owning now, what the age for new buyers is. It's a pretty good article, eh?
Yeah, it goes in depth, which is kind of nice, right? It's kind of, it really jumped when I think I did a video a year ago about first time buyers that the average age was 36 because I saw on a thumbnail, look at some old videos in the article now, a year and a bit later, it's 40. Imagine first time, but the average age is 40 years old. That's just not comprehensible. It's just, Doesn't make any sense.
How old were you when you bought your first
I,
house?
I was I was 32, 33.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, I got transferred around a lot in my previous work life, so I didn't. And then once I kind of said, you know what, Barrie's my home, then I started. But again, we look at the home values back then, holy cow, 27 years ago. Whew. Just imagine starting out. Imagine starting out now at 30 years old and making 150. I'm not buying a home. Let's be honest.
No.
Got rent.
I was like 22,
Yeah,
but I bought it with my spouse.
right.
We weren't married yet,
Yeah.
but and we did get help from parents for a down payment even then.
Well, that's the common thing. So I think there's some really good information for the viewers in the article. Talk a lot about home supply and condo supply, power sale. So I think you'll enjoy the video and stick around because there's some good knowledge in there.
You
So
want to do a shout out?
yeah, it's a good idea. So anyone likes this I always yeah, sorry. Anyone likes this content, subscribe for more because we have a lot of videos. Our library expands over 600 videos. It will cover a lot of different things you're probably looking for. So I think you should subscribe. And Diane's needs one more subscriber to hit 1,000 so she can become monetized. So hit the subscribe button on the channels. Also, home evaluation or a buyer looking to move to Simcoe County, click the links at the beginning of our description. You can send this to a landing page, fill it out. We'd love to work with you. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so it is 2024 data, but it's the full year. So it kind of gives us a feel for what's actually happening, right?
Yeah, and before we could begin, let me just talk about the market before we dive in that to give the viewers some idea. We're seeing double-digit decreases month over month so far in 2025 compared to last year's same time periods. We're not seeing transactions like we did last year. Yes, there's some, lots of has changed, but the weather hasn't cooperated as well. So that's putting a damper on a lot of people, getting out looking at properties in February, March. April's improved. Now we're into May. So let's hope we can make up some ground. But there's still a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace right now. And I think buyers are scared to make a move. And I'm still seeing a lot of properties continually coming on the market overpriced. It's my favorite word is overpriced. Overpriced, overpriced, overpriced.
Yeah.
Anything more.
2025 is the year of overpriced.
Been that for the last couple of years. So it's critical to understand the data and the numbers are all there. We keep saying it all the time. When we present those numbers, we don't make these numbers up on a spreadsheet. So ask your agent, ask us if what the market is doing. Read the numbers is where I'm going with it. Does
Yeah.
it?
Well,
So
the funny thing is in 2025, the difference for me is, yeah, we saw overpriced listings, but the market is slower and slower and slower all the time, and we don't see the prices coming down, which
we don't. On some we do. After we've seen someone who's tried for several months,
yeah.
they try different strategies and try several months, and then they price it properly, and then magically it sells. And I still think there's a lot of buyers, Diane, that want to buy, just they're not willing to give the sellers what they want today.
Yeah. So
So
the quick hits on the article, Toronto condos represent over 65% of property transfers in 2024. So out of all the sales or change of ownership, we should say,
yes,
over 65% were condos. Single party investors account for 20% of multi-property purchases. which actually, when you think about it, is quite a low amount. Because if they're multi-property purchases, you would think there would be more investors, not just 20%.
Yeah, do you think something has to do with the rates why we're not seeing investors jumping into
I
these
think the
properties?
LTV and the rates.
Right. I just had a conversation with a gentleman a few minutes ago hopping on, and we talked a little bit about that. And he used to dabble in the investment business and stuff like that in real estate, and never again. It's just a disaster. They've destroyed it. The risks are
Yeah.
too. And I think we'll continue to see that number come down. So a lot of those properties that are designed for multi-use and multi-purpose, meaning two families, you're going to start seeing, again, more families buy the house.
Well, what they're saying is like single party investors account for 20 of multi-property purchase, meaning you will own more than one. A lot of it is more 80% is people buying recreational and another property for them to actually use, not rent.
Right. Right.
They're not investors, or they might be buying it for their kids,
For sure.
you
For
know?
sure. Yeah.
20 average holding period for Toronto in non-condo properties, 18 years. So people are staying in their properties now, average 18 years.
I think that's always been a high number for the city due to supply, right? You're not seeing, where some county we're seeing 5, 6 years. Maybe the graph might tell us different, but we
It
basically,
says nine, yeah. So it actually down here, there's a graph that shows all of Ontario, which is kind of cool.
yeah. And look at the number, 25% of homes bought in 2022 under a million sold at a loss by 2024.
Yeah,
And that's to be where we see the same thing, right?
yeah.
Someone bought in 2022, hey, Mark, I want to sell. Oh, what'd you pay for it? That's the number one question.
But
What?
still 75%, think about it though, 75% didn't lose.
Because they haven't sold.
No, 25% of homes bought in 2024 under
Yeah.
a million sold at a loss by 2024 or bought in 2022. So what they're saying is of all the ones bought in 2022 that sold in 2024 under $1 million,
Yeah.
25% of them lost money.
Yeah. No, that's pretty good.
I know. Um, so this is one thing that I really like is that this report is actually going off the Terranet transactions, Mark. Terranet is the land registry system of when like the houses changing hands of and the ownership being transferred, right? So this isn't from a real estate board that, might not have all the transactions. This is from the actual land registry.
Yeah, I think that if something doesn't, to your comment, if something doesn't close, right? This is a more accurate picture in a sense. But do we see a lot of properties not closed? No, but it's happening.
It's
We do.
happening.
So, the number would be very small, but it is still happening.
Yeah, exactly. So the condos accounted for more than 65% of sales in Toronto. Well,
Kind of knew that.
we kind of knew that.
Look how much
Multi-prop,
units come on. Look how much new inventory came on in 2024.
well, I know.
1,000
Um,
condo
it's
units.
saying 15,000 new condo units became ready for occupancy in 2024, a 78% jump over the previous year.
Massive. It's a lot of units.
So this flood of about 15,000 new condos that became available was an important piece of data to fully understand the condo market. So meaning Mark that there were so many more that came on and a lot of investors sold, that 65% is a large number because of that.
Oh, 100%. And let's talk about that for a sec too, as we see, and that buyer probably bought in what, 2021 maybe?
Yeah,
Lots have changed. Rates are low. There's an abundance of people that can't qualify at today's rates, right?
yeah,
So that developer would have them back, would be back on they would be resold. And then, at what price? There's a flood of inventory in the condo market in Toronto.
And if they did close, Mark, if you bought off a builder and you closed in 2024, the land transfer would show you going the built from the builder to you.
Correct.
So you're still, it's still going to be like a purchase, right? Or a transfer.
Yeah.
So multi-property owners continue to dominate Ontario's housing market, but their buying habits are changing. So as of the end of 24, according to Terranet, the majority of multi-property owners, 55% own just two properties, 20% have three. This means that multi-property owners aren't aggressively building large portfolios. Instead, they're likely investing passively or holding second properties for personal use.
Right. And that's and you think about that when, we own multiple properties, you have two back in the day. We wouldn't get back into that business today. It's too
No.
risky. It's
Yes,
so
and that's what they're saying here. There's a noticeable pullback among big investors.
yeah, yeah. That's when you look at that numbers and another 20% have three, that's not a big number. We do a
Not
lot
any,
anymore. It's
look at years ago, Mark, even 8, 9 years ago, how many agents did you know um that had three or four properties?
tons.
Lots. And not anymore, right? So another shift in Ontario's investor landscape is a rise of single party multiple property owners. So these individual investors now represent 20% of all multiple property owner transaction. What's particularly notable, Terranet said, is their ability to purchase property without needing mortgage. Almost one third of these buyers paid entirely in cash, Mark.
So there's a big thing. So let's pause it there for a second because 90% of the comments that we see on our channel at times talks about, oh, I'm a buyer, but I'm going to wait till the market bottoms out or wait till these people lose it. That was never the case. We're not seeing that. And here it is, right? Almost a third of these buyers paid cash. People are sitting on a lot of equity in their homes. It's massive. Some people aren't,
Yeah,
but a lot are.
a
So
lot are.
let's not assume that everybody's in this realm of trouble in kind of a crazy environment that we're in right now, because it's not everybody that's being impacted by higher rates, higher prices, worried about my job, whatever. It goes on and on.
Well, and one third bought in cash, that's a huge amount.
That's huge. That's big bucks. That's
Yeah.
big.
So the other thing is crazy to me. The majority of the buyers, about 39%, are millennials,
Yeah.
followed by Gen Xers who are 36%.
Mhm.
It's a lot.
Mhm.
They're primarily investing in Toronto, York, and Peel regions with no apparent preference for property type, buying an equal proportion of condo and non-condo.
Yeah. Interesting. Huh?
So here's the power of sales, Mark.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. We are
So,
seeing not a ton. There's some.
well,
Yeah.
you know what I love about this? When you go on, here, I'm gonna just stop share for a second. When you go on a real estate board, we cannot search by power of sale. Now, years ago, when the board was a little bit different, you could put that in there and you could find them.
Yeah, you can.
Now you cannot. So I can't just go in and search how many power sales sold this year, how many, like that information is like you cannot get it.
Right.
This actually tracked it, and like for the first time in years, we actually have information. Um, so power of sale activity, often a sign of growing financial stress among homeowners, has been on the rise since 2022. Though volumes remain below peaks seen in 2015 and 2016. You remember those days, Mark, eh? There was power sales everywhere.
There was a lot. There was a lot. I did a ton of them in 2012 and 13.
I know. I know that I remember like there was
Then it dried
lots.
up. Then it just stopped, right?
Well, they did the start of the stress test in
Yeah. So
2017 and you didn't see it.
it just things change. And to that point, I think the stress test is good to a point in a market where it gets overheated, right?
Yep.
But feel that it's appropriate for the market that we're in today? No, because I believe it's a barrier for people to get into the housing market because of X 2%.
Yes. And the interest rates are so high.
Right.
So in 2024, certain regions stood out as more vulnerable than others. Toronto accounted for 13% of all power of sale transfers, followed by Peel at 9% and Simcoe at 6%. But when compared to their overall share of property transactions, some areas appear disproportionately affected. Peel, for instance, made up 7% of all transfers, but 9% of power sales. Middlesex showed a similar pattern with only 3% of total transfer volume, yet 6% of power sales. Meanwhile, regions like Halton and Waterloo saw relatively fewer distressed sales. So I know people, I don't know if they can see this really good, but Essex was 3.9%, Niagara 3.9, Ottawa Carleton 3.9, Wentworth 3.9, Durham 5.9, Middlesex 5.9, York Region was 5.9, Simcoe 5.9, Peel 8.8, and Toronto 12.7. And then they have the rest of Ontario at 39%. But these are like the big areas here, right?
That's right.
So Peel and Toronto,
Big centers. You naturally see those numbers,
yes.
right? So, you know, are there going to be more? Yeah, there's going to be more, right? We are going to see more, right? We're seeing the L one come up, but it accounts for a small piece of the market, Diane, right?
Very small piece.
And I know there's buyers out there that want a deal. Everybody wants a deal. And I say it, the new deal to me is that when I see a property come on MLS priced for today's market, that's the new deal,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. And it isn't as this is not as crazy as people's perception of it is. Like people think that, everybody's losing their houses. They're
Yeah.
not.
Perception. They're not. They're not. How many I don't get calls from my clients go, Mark, I'm in financial trouble. We need to sell.
Me neither.
Oh, hi, Mark. We want to sell because we want to move. We want to, what's the motive behind, them getting to that process? Some want to live in the lake, some want to, downsize, some want to upsize. There's many different reasons, right? And a lot of these people have been sitting on good equity or in good equity positions, right? So,
Yes.
how many times have we gotten the phone calls going, hey, I'd like to sell, but I want to wait till things get really heated up. But
Yeah.
that seller also has to buy. So when you're selling in a hot market, you're also buying in a hot market. It works great if I'm just selling in a hot market and moving away or become a renter or whatever, right? So
Well, you know what, Mark? I do you agree with the concept? Because I don't, of selling when it's high, renting, waiting, and then buying when it's low.
no, because it potentially pushed. I've had clients that did that 4 or 5 years ago. They left a lot of equity on the table, worked against them.
I
Now
well,
they could be pushed out of the market now,
I
right?
had so I had that exact scenario. They are pushed out of the market. They still can't get back in.
Can't. Prices have gone up substantially in the last, I mean, yes, in the 4 years, but they've pulled back last couple of years, right? We've seen some big pullbacks, but still, with the rate increases and the qualifying, you can't get in anymore. It's tough, and you know, the value of a dollar is eroded over the last few years. It's tough.
Well, and I rather, because I just sold my house and bought. I would rather sell low and buy low.
It's the same thing at the end of the day, right? Like
Well,
numbers look great when you sell for that amount and you're sitting on whatever 700,000 of equity. But if you're trading up and you're going to 1.5, whatever, so you have a sizable mortgage on that remaining.
it's the same, but you know what? Why I feel more safe? Because if I buy at a high time and I get a high price for my house, and then I buy high and the prices get soft for a year or two, if I need to sell or get out, I can't.
You're sitting on a good equity position, so it'd be okay, right? But the people
Yes.
maybe trading up. up and going in with maybe 20%, that's a different story. But we're not seeing a lot of people, you know what I mean? And that buying decision for a homeowner today is a lot different, right? I'm going to be there for at least 5 to 9 years. We just went over that stat from Terranet. So, that's time. That you're going to be building equity. You're paying down your mortgage. Great. You're going to
Yeah.
start building equity. You're not, you know what I mean? That you need to go pay, you need somewhere to live.
Yeah.
So why would you want to go rent and pay $3,200 in rent that's going out the door every month?
That's my whole thing. If you know what, I actually did the math with somebody one time where we did the moving expenses, we did the rent, all your legal fees, your mortgage penalty, because well, you can get a mortgage. Sometimes if you move your mortgage, they don't penalize you, right? Sometimes you do get penalized anyway. Um, Either way, we went through it all, and they were losing $38,000 each year. And like by renting. And I
Right.
said to them, so you're losing 38,000 by renting. If you would have bought a house, what what would have grown in that year? Even if it only grows 3 or 4%.
Yeah, you're going to get if it does grow, which we're not seeing any growth right now in price appreciation, but at least the mortgage debt's coming down, right? When
Yes.
someone gets a mortgage in the first 5 years, it's really front loaded with
Yeah,
interest, right? So, but at least that's an asset that's getting paid off, right, over time.
that's right.
Eventually the principal kind of catches up and it surpasses the interest being, every month, and so it's more going to that principal. So yeah, the again, I love real estate for that reason. Yes, we're in a market where it's a lot lower from the peak, and you just got to ignore it. So if
Well,
I was
and
looking,
in general, too,
yeah, oh, it
when you
doesn't.
do the math, sorry, when you do the math for people, in general, your a mortgage payment's less than rent.
It is, and it is, and rents are still high. There's a bit of supply in the market today. There's a lot, um,
Still high though.
still high, right? So let's go back to the article and see what else we can talk about because it's pretty good.
Pandemic era home buyers see losses.
Okay.
So many homeowners who bought during the market peak in 2022 and 2023 and subsequently sold lost money on their properties. Approximately 25% of homes purchased under a million in 2022 and resold in 2024 incurred losses.
What's the chart there? What's this chart, Diane? Can we make heads or tails of this chart?
Well, sold year, I'm gathering that they bought. Does this
So
make
if you,
sense? So if you bought in 2023 and you sold in 2024, you lost 12%. If you bought in 2022 and sold in 2024, it was a 25.9% drop. That's what they're saying up here, 25%.
maybe, yeah, because we look how inflated the price. We look at where the market is today, right? Where we've seen a lot between 20, let's just say go 20 and 30%, give or take a few, right? On some of
Or this kind of looks like the losses. Like in 2023, if you bought in 2022, you lost 4.5% because the prices were still high.
yes.
That's kind of what it's kind of looking like to me.
Yeah, I wish there was more information on that.
I know.
The 3 million to 5 million, but like this,
Okay, this is what it's saying. The median loss for homeowners is around 45,000, but in the GTA, the loss was higher at 56. In cottage country regions like Muskoka, the median loss spikes dramatically to 240,000. However, the volume of transactions was relatively low.
and we've seen losses. I've seen losses in Simcoe County here where a buyer is paid 1,256 and sells it for 930 year and a half later.
I know. We've
And
seen some big losses actually.
there is. There is. So, you know, again, it happens.
So first-time home buyers are getting older. Median age climbing to 40. A decade ago, The average first-time buyer spent 500,000 for a non-condo home, so a freehold. By 2024, that figure surged to 1.3 million,
Yeah.
making condos a more attainable entry point for many newcomers.
Yeah.
Another critical shift is homeowners holding on to properties longer, particularly in Toronto. So, freehold homeowners now keep their properties nearly 18 years on average, compared to roughly 14 years in 2015. So they're saying this data seems to correlate with the idea that due to the lack of affordability in Toronto, they may choose to renovate their existing property as opposed to moving to a new one. So this shows over the regions the average length of home ownership.
It's pretty hot years before they move, correct? So Simcoe
Yes.
County 9.8, Duffer 9.9, Wellington's 11. So, so there we go. A lot changes in a market over 12, 14, 15 years,
Yeah.
right? You can't look at that, oh, I wouldn't buy a home today, et cetera, but you're not moving tomorrow. It's
Well,
not a
not by the
you
look
can
of
save
these. Like,
instantly.
what's shocking to me is Simcoe, York Region, Durham, Peel, Dufferin, like they're about the lowest.
Yeah, right. Look at the values. So I sold my portfolio in 2016. Say the average price was 325 for my holdings, my townhomes. Dan, they're selling for those would get 630 to 650 today.
I know.
9 years difference,
It's
right?
the thing over time, it's always going to go up, Mark.
It
Oh,
is.
over time.
We're going to see, and I don't think, and I'm not trying to think that 2025 is going to be rosy because it's not. I think
It's
we're still
not.
in a troubled year in a sense and lagging sales for sure. But we're going to come out of this. Rates at one point, rates will come down more.
Well, it's funny you say that. What's ahead for Ontario's market? Turcotte's latest report highlights a growing divide in Ontario's housing market between those who can comfortably invest and those who are increasingly priced out. Key patterns include the rise of the cash-rich investor and mounting financial stress among homeowners who bought during the market peaks. First-time buyers continue to face significant hurdles, especially with non-condo properties in Toronto, pushing the average purchasing age to 40, a clear indication that affordability challenges continue to deepen across the province.
Yeah, it's gonna, it's gonna. That was good. So,
It
folks,
was
remember,
good, right? Because at least it gave us
sorry,
it gave a good
give a good
kind of,
an understanding of on a really national level in a sense, or more Ontario, but it really shows, you know, that everybody's not hurting. Everybody's not, people are sitting on piles of cash in their home. They're buying second properties. Yes, some people are hurting. I know that they are. That happens in a market,
but
right?
not everybody is.
Not everybody is. Not everybody is just because, the majority of them are making the mortgage payments every month. But if they look at the price tag of the home has come down substantially. Okay, wait it out. No one
Mm-hmm.
says you got to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Wait it out. I wouldn't be selling. I lost money in my condo here. I'm down 45K. Oh well, it is what it is. So do I sell and go rent? No. First year, there you go. There's now it's 30 some grand in rent.
I know you waited out.
You wait it out. It's not a big deal. So okay, I think we're done because I got to go pick up Ted.
Perfect. Great job.
Yeah.
See ya.